So if you're a driven person, a high achiever, I'm willing to bet you've felt that deep, nagging frustration with your own inconsistency, right? You start out so strong, you've got the vision, you've got the energy, and then life happens, and poof, the momentum is just gone. Today we're going to dig into the real reason that happens, and it's almost certainly not what you think it is.
I mean, let's just start with this question. It's a wild paradox, isn't it? The very same people with incredible ambition and willpower are the ones who suddenly walk away from their goals. It turns out the problem isn't a lack of drive at all. The problem is we've been fundamentally misunderstanding what we're supposed to be aiming for in the first place.
And this is really where the whole issue begins. It's rooted in a completely flawed definition of consistency. We've basically been taught to climb a ladder that's designed from the start to make us fall off. Think about it. When you hear the word consistency, what comes to mind? For most of us, it's these ideas, right? Doing it the right way, following plan A to the letter, never ever missing a day. We've basically been taught that consistency is just another word for perfection. And while that sounds like a really high standard, it's actually a trap. This right here is the perfect metaphor for the problem. When perfection is the only option, there is zero room for being human. You're either standing on that one single perfect rung at the very top, or you're on the ground. You've fallen. There's no in-between, no good enough, no space for life to just happen. And this mindset creates a cycle that is so painfully predictable. You start off with a huge burst of motivation. Then, inevitably, life gets in the way. You get sick, a meeting runs late, you're just tired. And the immediate thought isn't, okay, how do I adapt? It's, well, I blew it. That's an attack on your identity. So you lose trust in yourself, you abandon the goal entirely, and here's the craziest part, when you eventually restart, you make the rules even stricter, which just guarantees the cycle will happen all over again. And here is the absolute key. If that cycle sounds familiar, it's not because you're undisciplined. This isn't some moral failing or a weakness in your character. It is simply the logical, predictable outcome of playing a game with a broken set of rules. It's a failure of definition.
So why is this cycle so powerful? Well, it's because it gets tangled up in our sense of self. This isn't just about checking boxes on a to-do list. It's about who we fundamentally believe we are.
This is the voice in our head, right? That internal monologue. Missing one day isn't just a data point. It becomes concrete evidence of a character flaw. The action itself, like missing a single workout, gets twisted into an identity. I am a failure. And honestly, who can keep moving forward carrying that kind of weight?
And these are the quiet beliefs that are powering the whole self-sabotage machine. We tell ourselves that adapting is really just a fancy word for making excuses. We think that if we adjust the plan, we're lowering our standards. Or maybe the biggest one of all, if I were really disciplined, I wouldn't need a plan B. We basically shame ourselves for being resourceful.
Okay, so what is the way out of this? It's not about finding more discipline or trying harder. It's a simple, but really profound shift in perspective. We need a new definition.
So let's look at this one last time. This is the flawed definition. Consistency is perfect adherence to a plan. This is what creates that brittle, unforgiving, single-rung ladder. And it's completely out of touch with how real life actually works.
And now, here's the game changer. This is the core insight. A more powerful definition is this. Consistency is the ability to adapt your actions to changing constraints while staying aligned with the same outcome. You see the shift? It's not about perfectly executing the plan. It's about staying true to the goal and being smart enough to adjust your approach along the way.
This shift in definition changes everything about how you approach your goals. You go from being just a blind rule follower to an empowered decision maker. You stop trying to control every little thing, which is impossible, and instead become a good steward of your energy. And you trade in that idea of brute force discipline for something far more effective, intelligent responsiveness.
So what does this actually look like day to day?
Well, when you start using this new definition, your focus changes. Your primary job is no longer to protect the plan. Your new job is to protect your momentum.
A really simple way to visualize this is through something called the Plan ABC framework. Now, don't think of this as another rigid system you have to follow. It's more of a mental model, just an example of what adaptive thinking looks like in action.
It's super simple. Plan A is your best case scenario. You have the time, you have the energy, you do the full version of the thing. Plan B is for a more typical day.
You're a little tired, short on time, so you do a scaled-down version. And then there's Plan C. This is the most important one. This is your emergency plan. It's the absolute bare minimum action you can take to keep your promise to yourself. It's not a 60-minute workout, it's putting on your running shoes and walking for 5 minutes.
And this is absolutely crucial. The entire point of Plan B and Plan C has nothing to do with performance. You're not trying to get results with them. Their only job is to preserve your self-trust. They exist so that at the end of a tough day, you can still look yourself in the mirror and say, I did what I said I was going to do. That is the win.
This all leads to a really important distinction between two ideas: intensity and momentum. Perfectionism loves intensity, those all-out, heroic efforts. They feel super productive, but they're incredibly fragile. Adaptability, on the other hand, protects momentum. Momentum is quieter, it's more subtle, but it's what compounds over time. It's what actually gets you where you want to go.
And the emotional payoff from this mental shift is just huge. The shame that comes with failing, it basically evaporates. That friction you feel when you have to start over from scratch, it's gone because you never truly stopped. Your identity becomes stable and your progress is no longer this brittle thing that shatters. It becomes resumable. You can always pick it up right where you left off.
So ultimately, this whole reframe is about changing the conversation you're having with yourself. It's about replacing a question that's based on judgment with one that's based on strategy.
We all know the old question. It's this one. Why can't I stick with anything? Just notice how loaded that question is. It starts with the assumption that you are the problem. It's a dead-end question that only ever leads to feeling worse about yourself.
But the new question is so much more powerful. It's, what's the appropriate action given today's reality? It's curious, not critical. It acknowledges that life has constraints, and it just focuses on finding the next wise move. It's a question that assumes you're capable. You just need to figure out the right path forward for today.
And let's be crystal clear about this. This is not an argument to abandon discipline. Far from it. This is about making discipline sustainable. Adaptability isn't the enemy of discipline. It's the partner that allows discipline to actually survive contact with the messy reality of the world.
So I'll just leave you with this. There's no homework, no action steps, just a question to think about. How might your goals change? What new things might suddenly feel possible if you allowed your definition of consistency to be about adapting, not about being perfect?